Moving on with our next talker, he's already been referenced several times today. He had a chance to talk during our panel discussion as well. Talking about Dr. Nick Phillips. He is pastor of marriage ministries at Northridge Church in Plymouth. He's earned a doctorate of ministry degree in marriage and family, and he teaches at several universities in addition to the seminary about marriage and family systems. He has spoken locally, nationally, and internationally at marriage conferences, seminars, workshops, retreats. He is also a national trainer for Prepare Enrich, a marriage assessment mentoring training program. He has guided over 950 pre-marriage couples through a preparation and mentoring system that has created less than 6% divorce rate, which is phenomenal, at his current ministry setting in the last 12 years. He and his wife, Carol, have 4 adult children. He is speaking to us today on a very important topic. It is the healthcare system for one flesh union. Dr. Nick Phillips, let's please give him a big round of applause. Are you mic'd up?
I know we have pastors, clergy here, but businessmen as well. I want us just to kind of reminisce back. I'm going to have to go back 22 years, and to my first pastorate, Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I'm an Iowa boy. You know, there's more pigs in Iowa than people. You know that? All right. I won't do any holler calling here. But I want you to go back with me. You remember your first year, first time in his job? First time of broadcasting on TV, first time. Your first, maybe your sermon or your talk. Maybe your first public prayer. Are you with me? You're already feeling the fear already, aren't you? You know, the feeling that maybe your first funeral and your first wedding. Well, I want to share with you the 6 months in my first part of marriage. Remind you, I was 10 years corporate before. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, what do you do? I mean, they give me a paycheck for doing this, for loving people? You know, I always tell people, you know, they pay me to love you. You know, the volunteers say they love you normally. But anyhow, it's like I'm going in here in regard to 6 months into ministry. And, you know, I'm trying to figure out things out. And got my first series of lessons out, you know, and I'm doing some preaching and teaching, you know, and I'm feeling like, okay, this is where God has me to go, and I feel really good about it. And then I get a phone call. And it says, Pastor, my marriage is falling apart. Can you help us? They didn't teach me that in seminary.
All right.
What do I do? You know, my heart's going, you know. And I said, well, just come on in and we'll pray more. You know, I don't know what I said. I mean, it was very vague, you know. And then we sat down, and I tell you, my heart became sad. And I, as a pastor, as a spiritual leader, felt so inadequate. I felt responsible. I felt almost ashamed almost. And then, you know, a month later, I did my first wedding. And this couple was excited about getting married. And, you know, we went through the ceremony. I'd said some 3 things, I think, about marriage. I'd make sure they got the marriage license. You know, we got to be legal, right? Right. 3 months later, after the wedding, the groom calls me and says, my wife has ran out with another man. She's filing divorce. Bam! A double whammy. The next week. This must only happen in Iowa, right? No, okay, all right. The next week, someone, you know, we call them deacons at the time, elders, you know, the lay people, you know. Powerful couple, influential couple. He calls me, says, Pastor, can I have lunch with you? I go, sure, you know. Let's talk about business. Let's talk about God's business, you know. He sits down and with tears down his eyes. I said, I've been married for 30 years. My wife just left me. Influential in the church. I'm sitting there, God, I'm missing something. I am missing something. I'm preaching God's word. I'm loving on the congregation. What in the heck is going on? Okay? That's Christian for hell. Okay. And so I began on the journey as a spiritual leader, feeling very alone, very isolated, feeling very defeated, very sad. And I said, God, take me back to corporate world. But he didn't. Let me take you back a year and a half ago. I went to northern Togo in the bush. And I was there building a hospital with the locals, with the team. And I was, believe it or not, talking about marriages and in a different culture. And going through Mango, Togo, I walked through the village. And I don't know if you've ever been in Africa. You've been in villages in the bush before, have you? Okay, you can kind of relate with me a little bit. This is an Iowa boy, okay? All we see is pigs and farm, okay? Walking through the village, smelling the village, seeing the children alongside the road, seeing moms hold their babies dying, bellies, boom. And my heart just, again, I had that same feeling of inadequacy. What do we do? What do I do? What's going on here? And then as I was with my guide, indigenous people group there, my guide was walking through, and we're walking through the bush, and I'm asking them, now we're in the tall grass and walking through, and all of a sudden, we see a rodent go right past the path, okay? And all of a sudden he goes, boom, like that, and I go, I was like, what's going on, And all of a sudden a mamba, you know what a mamba snake? Was chasing that rodent. Mamba's the most poisonous snake in the world. And I go, whoa, this is not Kansas. And I was sitting there like, I said, what would happen if we get bit? He looked at me, he said, you die. And I go, why? He goes, because that's why we build hospital. The next hospital is 8.5 hours away. And I see the children. And I go, why? This is a naive pastor. Never been, any place like this before. Why isn't there something? He said, they don't have clean water. They don't have nutrition. They don't have mosquito nets. Kids die of malaria, diarrhea, pneumonia. Of course, the AIDS is there. These are diseases here that are treatable and are preventable. Then I said, okay, now I know why we're doing what we're doing in Africa, and our church is sponsoring actually 2 hospitals in Zambia right now because of that. But where am I going with this? Let's link it back. There's a disease in our culture called divorce. Yes? Do you agree? And it may not be a death. UNICEF said 6.6 million children die in 2012 before the age of 5. Now, I'm not talking about, maybe I'm comparing things totally different, but I think I'm really close because really, though they are physically dying, marriage is a living death. And we've seen the results today, yes? But I'm looking at where are the safety nets for those children? That's why the hospital's there. I'm asking us today, and the question I asked, and I was dealing that first year of my pastorate, where are the safety nets today for marriage? Where do people go to when they have a marriage problem? Where do they go? Who do they talk to? I asked this gentleman that's been in our church for married 30 years, predominant, loving person, serving the Lord. What happened? What happened? Pride, embarrassment, okay? Self-focus, pride, hiding. We do very well here in America hiding, right? In some cultures we hide more than others, right? But do we have a place, a safety nets for marriages? And as we here in Detroit, where do people go? Where do people go? Having that feeling of that first year in ministry, it set me on a journey to start reading, to start learning, experimenting on my wife, on marriage, and drew me to doing a doctorate work, doing clinical work in marriage and family. But not only for the understanding for me when a couple calls, but to provide a safety net in the congregation that will allow no more deaths. You hear my heart? I'm not there. I'm learning. I'm a sojourner with you guys. But what did I do? I just started my second year of pastor. I said, let's have a marriage conference. I didn't know what to do. I'm not going to speak. I hired somebody in. That's what we did. That's our first step. Second step, we had a seminar, a workshop. The more and more I've got some learning and experience and training, and I started doing them on my own. Guess what? I got tired. Rabbi, the Moses that, he kept on doing it all and said, hey, share the load, right? His father-in-law kind of gave him the riot act and said, hey, wake up. I had to wake up and realize I needed other people on this journey. And they're right there living with me, partnering in ministry with me. So we start developing the couples of mentoring, helping couples, helping other couples. See, they expect me to do that, but when they have another couple do that, they're doing it out of their heart and free. See, remember, they pay me to love people, right? Powerful. It is very powerful. Right now at Northridge Church, we have 52 couples that are helping marriages and I'll talk about different life cycles of marriage. In our pre-marriage program, in preparation part of it, I have 3 couples that work in there that I work with them I've been where I'm at for 12 years now. First year I was there, I was working with them on their broken marriages. All 3 of them at this time had an affair. God healed their marriages, restored them. We got people around them. And guess what? They're our speakers for pre-marriage. They're mentoring. Amen? You think when they walk in the room and talk about their stories, you don't think E.F. Hutton?
Yeah.
They're listening. They're hanging on. That's power. That's a transformed life. People want to know where life is. People want to know what works, yes?
Right.
Why would you invest in something that's not working? I want to invest in something that's working. We have people that are trained and equipped and ready to do that. And they get the blessing from doing it. It's crazy. They don't get a paycheck. Oh, Pastor Nick, you got another couple for us? They love it because they see the transforming power when 2 hearts open their life to God. And those 2 vows in the heart, I think there's 2 doors in the heart that give and receive love. Sometimes those 2 doors are shut because they have pain in their journey from their family origin, whatever's going on. Now they're getting healed. Now they're realizing, wow, the wholeness of who I am. And out of that, because I'm loved, now I can love. I can give love and receive love. Right now we had just 1,900 people, 950 couples, a little more higher because we just graduated class, go through pre-marriage process. And out of that, we have less than 6% divorce rate of those couples that went through the program. I follow up. We do tune-ups. And what's beautiful about these couples are assigned mentors. Guess what? When there's bumps along the road, guess who they call? Do you think they call me? Thank God. Who likes the phone call in the middle of the night? Yeah. They call their mentor. Why? Because they develop that trust. They develop that relationship. Skin on skin. Iron sharpens an iron. Iron sharpens another, right? And so I'm just encouraging us as spiritual leaders, going through the journey of feeling inadequacy, that we can be confident and having a safety net, a healthcare system for marriage in our local place of worship. We can do this. We can do this together. Granted, I'm a dumb jock, okay? It takes me I'm not in academia. Though I got the DR in front of me, that stands for other things, But it's coming out of the passion of seeing the congregation bleed in sadness and seeing their kids bleed. Every time pre-marriage, I have people raise their hand. You come from a divorced family, half of them raise their hand. Okay? My heart is not only to restore marriages, but my heart is, when joy comes to my heart, and I haven't received it yet, to seeing those couples that have been restored and seeing their children, seeing mom and dad love each other, being the us and their faith in the middle of that, lived out and experienced. I haven't experienced that yet. Hopefully God will allow me to see that pre-married couple come in. Hey, you remember when you knew my mommy and daddy came in here and they were divorced, now they're together? That's going to bring me joy. Only faith can do that, yes? And you and I just take the initiative. We don't have to do it alone. We can grab people and have a system. I instruct churches. I just got back from San Antonio, just got back from Braden, Florida, sitting there and helping to put a care system, an intake system for marriages. When couples call Northridge Church, we have an assessment team. And we matched them to a mentor. We match them if they're brand new and preparing their lives for marriage or remarriage, because there's a lot of dynamics with that, because the divorce rate's higher with a remarried, with all the children and all the dynamics at play. We have them go through a class. We have them go through an inventory, prepare and enrich inventory. All couples have an interview with me, because I work with the heart. I want to see where they're at. And then we match them through that mentor through their whole 5 years of marriage. Why 5 years? You look at the life cycle of a marriage, divorce rate's very high in the first 5 years of marriage, because a lot of things are happening. They're establishing the you and I and trying to make the us thing, because usually it's the I, right? And we're developing that us. So they need that coaching. They don't need a theologian. They don't need a preacher. They don't need a teacher. They need someone skin on skin to coach them. You know what you've been taught. Now do it. And there's accountability to it. And we've been a great success with that. Then we move into the first 5 years of marriage, that we call it that foundation, the preparation and the foundation. Then we move into enrichment. Couples from their 20s, out of that, been married 5 years plus. We have 20s and 30s. We do enrichment for them. We have groups that get together. We have 5 couples at my age. I call them vintage couples, old couples. They pour their lives in. I have 5 couples in my house every other night. Every other week. My wife wouldn't allow that. Should be called Molly maids all the time, cleaning the house. But to move in there and to talk to them, give them truth, and give them our own experience, our vulnerabilities, our successes, and our failures as a couple. But we also give them, empowering them with God's tools. And then they go on to their tables and meet other couples that are first 4 or 5 years of marriage. And they breathe into them. It's discipling unto disciples. It's a mentoring unto the mentors. Isn't that cool? And it's worked. We have 120 couples that are 20s and 30s right now, mid-sized groups every Friday night. Now I'm working on the 40s and 50s. They're a little harder because they know it all, right? No, they're hungry. I already have 25 couples ready to do the same thing, mentor these older couples. Then we have a restoration and reconciliation. We help with couples with affairs come back together. It's beautiful. I had one couple that had been divorced. They divorced each other, went out on their own. 5 years later, they came back and got married. Powerful, isn't it? So if we don't set up systems and safety nets, intentional systems, and a place where people can call in. I get people calling in from other churches, and I'm going to tell you what churches they are, because some of them might be right here. I'm teasing you, come on. Maybe, I don't know. But can you imagine you being a light, not in your own congregation, but a light to the community, somebody coming in and saying, you got something going on. I have calls from all over the country. What are you guys doing? What are you guys doing? Because people come from here, get healed, and get their marriages going, and they move, and then they talk about, hey, why don't we set this up? So what I get people calling and say, how do you set this up? It's not without imperfections. We're always tweaking. But I tell you, if we're not intentional, we don't set up safety nets. We have a system. I'll walk with you. I have a table out there with some resources, and too much is too much. You start simple, like I did in Iowa. Start a simple thing, and breathe in marriage. I know Ted Cunningham, who's a pastor down in Springfield, Missouri. He preaches every once a month on marriage and family. Okay, I'm challenging those who have that pulpit, those who have that opportunity to influence. Go ahead and put that in there every day. He put a challenge a year ago for couples to pray with one another. I think Barney says something about that. But this is the next challenge he had. He called me up. He says, Nick, I don't know what I'm doing, but God just told me to do this. He challenged this couple for 30 days to pray together, right? And then he comes back and says, okay, couples, have sex with each other for 30 days in a row and come back and report. Okay, only the guys are clapping, right? I go, you are insane. You are insane. I bet all the women in the world hate you and go slit your tires in the parking lot when you get out of the church. He goes, no, he says, you won't believe. No, sex is not the foundation of marriage. It's the outcome of the spiritual and the emotional intimacy and the overflow of that. Yes, how God's designed it. And I tell you, their congregation is rising up because they're realizing, wow, they're really not connected. They need to connect more. So be creative, create a safety system. Let's partner together. You got a lot that you are offering than us. We need each other through this journey, right? We can't do it alone. Don't be that Iowa pastor by all the pigs and try to figure this out alone. I wish I had a network of people that come alongside me to be an encourager, be a support, give me a resource, and say, you can do this. You can do this. Can we do this? We can do this. All right. Thank you.